Writing. Where do you begin? I guess I've already kind of done this for a different episode, but I am going to try again in a different format and for a different viewer. So let's try this one more time. As a young author, where do you begin? How do you get started writing? That's probably the biggest question I ever asked whenever I started writing. And where I went to, I'll be honest, was the books that I read. I read as many books as possible. I've read primarily the genres that I have read is been kind of like fantasy, epic fantasy, more sci-fi, supernatural. I've read a lot of supernatural or kind of like Percy Jackson, which is kind of I don't even know how you would even. It's not portal fantasy because they don't go to a different world. It's in the same world. I forget what it's called, even now. Let's actually look that up. Literature. Its main genre is fantasy, myth, and adventure story. Okay, so it's a myth adventure. Okay, I mean, it makes sense, especially with the style that he wrote it in. But I like to read a lot of those. I read The Maze Runner. I read The Hunger Games. I've read most of the Stormlight Archive. I don't think I've read the last two. Trying to catch up. What else? I read a lot, like just a ton. And the more that I've read, the easier it became for me to write. And I would say if that's what you're wanting to do, if you're wanting to write, read. Not only that, but read for free, because let's just be honest, especially if you're a young author, say you're in high school, middle school, like you don't have any money, and if you do, it's an allowance that your parents are giving you. And let's just be honest, $10 really isn't going to get you a very good book. Might get you a decent book on, say, if you want the Kindle version, which, I mean, to be fair, a lot of people have started to switch to that. But I've still seen a lot, and that's something that's controversial, like, oh, Kindle's where it's at. It's like, well, I go to all these conventions now, and I sell so many books, and I'm a newer author, so it's like, where's that coming from? I don't see that, but bigger people than me say that, so, I mean, they've sold way more books than me. I hope to get there one day. But yeah, that's kind of where I would start, is reading. Read the genre that you want to write. That's something big. A lot of people will try and read like how-to books, and it can be helpful, especially like what is it called? Save the Cat. Like, that one's a really good one. There's a couple other ones, but if I'm being honest, if you want to know how to read a book, if you want to know how to write a book, read a book. Figure out what they did. And when you do read, make sure you read the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because when you read those books that were bad and just like did not hit that mark, figure out why. Why did it not hit that mark? Why did it not resonate with you as the reader? Because you're not writing for you. When you write, you're writing for the reader. And as a reader, you know what you want. And typically, we actually put ourselves in the genre that we're going to write by what we read. So make sure that you read the genre that you're going to write in. I probably said that like 5 times now. I guess I should say, well, who are you to say that I should be doing all this? I'm nobody. Who am I? Well, I'm no one important. That's who I am. I am my kind of, it's not a pen name, but it's the name that I use whenever I'm doing my newsletter or whatever. I am your loyal journalist, the unoriginal storyteller. And as the name implies, I make unoriginal stories because, like, I forget who it was that said it. I don't think Brandon Sanderson said it first, but he's definitely said it. There are no new stories being written, just remixes. And if you really think about it, like music nowadays, unless you've gone to EDM and you're making these weird noises, like you're not really making anything new in terms of beat structure, if you're making it in terms of sound or the instruments that you use, the rhythm that you use. I know rhythm and beat kind of go in hand in hand, but at the same time they're different. The vocals, the singer is different, and that's what's key. The singer is different. If you want to stand out, be yourself. Because think about it. Who is your favorite artist? I'll throw mine out there. Mine is NF, and if I'm being honest, NF is the closest to who? Eminem. And that's who he get his kind of like style from. And he started, how do I want to say this? He styled himself after Eminem. And what has that done for him? Like, people love NF, but why? One, he's doing the same style as Eminem, but at the same time, he's doing his own thing. Yes, it's still rap. Yes, it's still that fast, actual rap, not the mumble to the beat kind of rapping that you hear nowadays. You need to be the NF of your story. And what I mean by that is write what you want to write and write it authentically. By that, I mean, don't go out and copy word for word someone. Obviously, that's plagiarism. But at the same time, say you take, what's an example? Take Percy Jackson, for example. He is a young boy with a single mother who gets pulled into this mythical world of half-bloods and gods and monsters. You can still use that concept. You don't have to use Percy Jackson. Does that make sense? Because what if you took Annabeth and you were writing from her POV? I'm pretty sure there is actually a book out there that's actually from her POV. But at the same time, take it, like if you take, for example, Lord of the Rings. This is what Brandon Sanderson did. Take Lord of the Rings. What if Sauron won? And that's essentially what happens in Mistborn. In Mistborn, the Lord Ruler is technically Sauron after Sauron won. I think I got done saying that I'm a nobody. What else was there? I think I was talking about how I was an unoriginal storyteller, and I went on a tangent. Yeah, that sounds about like me. Who am I? Oh, I am a self-published author. I have 3 books published right now, all in one series. It is a fantasy series, a YA fantasy series of magic, dragons, and a lot of sword fighting. And if I'm being honest, the best one that I think I've written so far is the 3rd one, which is the latest one. I also have the 4th book on the way, as well as a spin-off standalone that I am in the middle of writing, as well as a sci-fi book. So yeah, I've got a lot on the table. So I've got a little bit of experience in the writing aspect. How good I am, that's up to you to judge, because that means you would have to go and read my book. You can find them on Amazon if you happen to want to find them. I hope you do. So why am I doing this video in particular? Well, 10 years ago, I started out my writing journey. Actually, almost 10 years to not the day. It is March. Um, it was 20. Technically, it's been 11. Oh, it's been it's been 11 years. I've been saying 10 years for so long. It's 11 years actually this month. Um, it was the month that, or the year that I moved down here to Florida. I have been all over the place since then, but I kind of wanted to make this video for the younger, kind of young, serious author. Yeah, it's a hobby probably at this point in time because, like, you have delusions of grandeur, and you want to be the best published author on the face of the planet. You want to be the next Brandon Sanderson from scratch. That's kind of how I would say that I was, and the journey has been a wild ride. Let's just put it that way. And I've been doing this for so long, and there's been things I've learned along the way that I wish I would have known well beforehand. And the funny thing is, there were even things like that I know now that I watched previously, before I did said thing not to do, and found out the hard way. And let's just say that I found out the hard way. And I want to install that knowledge to whoever the young author, and by young author, I mean anyone from middle school all the way up until they're in their 80s. Like, anyone could take this and use it for their benefit. It's anyone who's starting out. And that's kind of how I wanted to do this. And I know a lot of people say, oh, I don't like the way that you talk to people. I don't like the way that you don't seem like you know what you're doing. Okay, then don't watch my stuff. Or, I'm messing with that again. Or I'll get like, my wife will tell me, it's like, oh, you sound so monotone. I was like, okay, then I'm going to just do it off the cuff. And whatever comes out onto the mic is what I'm putting out there. I'll edit it a little bit, but they're going to get what they see. And I'm just going to say it from the heart. I've got some notes here that I'm kind of reading off of, but take what you will from it. Take it with a grain of salt. That is actually a good advice that I was told. I don't remember if it was Jed who I was listening to or watching. Take everything with a grain of salt. Use what you want, not what you... Use what you need, not what they say. That's a better way of putting it. Because there's a lot of stuff, like Brandon Sanderson says in his YouTube videos on writing. Like, you might be a romance author, but you don't necessarily need to know what a thermal detonator is from some sci-fi universe that your characters have no part in dealing with, and how that affects the story. But you can use the elements of a thermal detonator or a bomb in the same manner of, like, oh, this girl has a bomb that she's dropping in the high school news outlet, and it changes the story. That's the proverbial bomb. So when I started out, I had a lot of questions, and I don't know if I asked the right questions. I didn't feel like at the time that I was asking the right questions, but I've learned over time that there are no right questions, there are no right answers, there are only what you take away. So I have some questions when I first started out, and it took me a while to find a lot of the answers, and I'm still looking for a couple of them. Like, in particular, how to manage a book author career while trying to live, which I'm learning is harder and harder every day. So it's not easy, let's just put it that way. But it is something that I have been striving to do for a long time. This will probably be like a podcast styled, like shorter format. I'll probably do longer videos later on, but this will be like just the introduction of who I am, how I am going to start or revamp kind of how I want to do my channel, whether it be YouTube, whether it be basically any of the platforms, and kind of like answering questions. Like if you have questions, yes, feel free to put them in the description below. I'm not done, by the way, just to let everyone know. I still got a little bit. I don't know why I'm rambling again. I feel stupid. Do you ever feel stupid at times? Like you just start talking and then you can tell everyone just tunes out and it's like, I should shut up now. That's how I feel sometimes. And then I still ramble. So basically, if you have questions that you have as a new writer, or even just like I've started but I don't know where to go, I would love to help answer those questions and kind of like guide you as best I can from what I know. And if I don't know, then I will definitely try and give you the information to get you where you can get that answer. Let's just put it that way. Because I might have an answer for one thing but not another, but someone else has an answer. I will not withhold that information from anyone. If you ask, I will do my utmost. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to help other people learn. That is my goal with this. I will probably have several videos up at the same time, and if you want to, you can go and try and figure out which one you want to watch next out of these. Until next time, I am your loyal journalist.